Hey, this is Group 6. My name is Patrick. Our topic is on GMOs, and what our group had was we're doing 4 GMOs. First, I'll be talking about the history and backgrounds. So, to start off, what are GMOs? What it stands for is genetically modified organisms. What it basically is, it's just using biotechnology to transfer DNA from one organism to another. And mainly it's used on crops, and what it's used for is to make them resistant to herbicides, insects, and different kinds of weather conditions. They could also be used to make crops grow faster or delay the ripening process. The first crop that was genetically engineered to be commercialized was a tomato, and the first animal was a salmon. So the first one was a tomato, and the name they gave it was the Flavor Savor tomato. Um, this crop was approved by the FDA in 1994. It's approved to be sold in the market and for consumption. The characteristics for this tomato is it had a slow ripening process. It was also prevented softening and rotting of the tomato, so it had a longer shelf life. It was also for it to have a better color and taste. It stopped production in 1997 because it cost too much to produce it and to transport it. And there were also reports from consumers that the tomato did not have much flavor. The first animal to be genetically engineered for consumption only was the salmon. It's not on sale yet because there's a bunch of complications with the labeling. Um, so the thing with this salmon is it grows twice as fast as a conventional salmon. So this salmon only takes around 18 months to grow instead of the usual 36 months to grow. The company that started developing this was Aqua Bounty. They started developing it in 1989, but it was finally approved by the FDA in 2015. So that's almost 30 years later. Um, the FDA requires the salmon to be grown in contained facilities. Thing is, so what this means is it's just closed off from other salmon. This is just to prevent it with breeding with other salmon in the wild. But the thing with the breeding, anyways, it's impossible to breed because all of their eggs are female and they're sterile. So some of the ethical aspects, the genetically engineered crops, they are resistant to insects and herbicides. This just makes the crop management easier, and it also reduces crop losses. So this means it results in more yields. So more yields means farmers will make more money, and they'll also be able to produce more crops at a lower price in the market. And also the herbicide-resistant crops allows farmers to till the field less. This results in improved soil health. So basically what tilling is, it's just overturning fields to uproot weeds. And tilling leaves fields open to erosion and releases carbon dioxide. So carbon dioxide is one of the main reasons for global warming.
Hi, I'm Hope, and I'm going to be continuing on the cultural, ethical aspects and finish off with the cultural and sociological importance of GMOs. GMOs have the potential to end world hunger by mass producing safe and edible vegetables, grains, and fruits. A popular yet controversial product that has been created using GMOs is golden rice. This rice is a modified strain that contains beta carotene, which is an infant form of vitamin A. Releasing this strain of rice to countries that suffer from famine and hunger could not only stop their starvation, but also increase their overall health. Though this sounds like a perfect option to end world hunger, it is still causing controversy. Because it is mass-produced by companies and does not need excessive amounts of farming or farmers in low-income countries will possibly lose out on money due to their crops failing or buyers buying golden rice instead. Only 10 companies control 75% of the global seed sales, so they would take over more of the sales by selling golden rice in such low-income areas. This would be a problem when introducing golden rice, but after years with golden rice in the economy is projected to balance out and return to stable conditions. Looking at the situation as a whole, golden rice and GMOs would greatly benefit countries with insufficient food. There is no way to determine the long term effects of GMOs, but we can determine that they can help end world hunger and stop the world from undergoing more crop specific famines, like the potato famine. These are the cultural and sociological importances of GMOs. GMOs are important because they're able to modify crops to become more drought resistant and reliable. This is especially important in places like California that have to be responsible with their water usage. With being drought resistant, crop GMOs are also very reliable, so they can grow on small plots of land because the likelihood of every plant growing to full potential is a lot higher than that of a regular plant. This also makes it so less pesticides need to be released into the environment, making the plants and the people around them much healthier. With less irrigation needed to help keep crops alive, less water runoff takes place overall. Combined with the smaller amount of pesticides, the runoff will contain less tainted water. This safer water will make it into our rivers and streams instead of the highly tainted large amount of water that would run off from regular crops. With modifications made to the crops, GMOs also promote less food waste. GMO crops are more likely to grow to full potential, so they are more likely to be bought off store shelves due to their long shelf lives. Then they are more likely to be eaten. All of these make it so that crops do not end up in landfills, but are rather used for their intended purposes as food for energy.
Hey guys, it's Emmanuel, and I'll be continuing with the cultural and sociological importance of GMOs as well as stating some current events involving the GMOs right now. So, insect resistance. The literature largely supports the conclusion that insect resistance traits can reduce or abate damage caused by biotic agents. This therefore meaning more crops would be able to thrive around insects without using those harmful herbicides that can also kill the crop and therefore produce less yield. Also, herbicide resistant. Herbicide resistant traits tend to reduce management time and increase time available for securing off farm income. Those two traits are parts of a portfolio of traits that may be introduced into crops. The relative magnitude of damage reduction by insect resistant traits and effects of other genetically modified traits will likely vary depending on the context of the technology used. Also, more crops would be able to be produced while less crops would be damaged with herbicides. Genetic engineering has also helped yield and food quality increase immensely. Genetic engineering has been used to increase the level of vitamins and minerals in crops, which are compounds that help improve the health and life quality of us as humans. Also, it increases in the level of protein, quality, carbohydrate content, and unsaturated fatty acids have been achieved in GMO crops in ways that could not have been easily achieved by conventional breeding. This meaning that we get better food for us to eat while using these GMOs. It has been demonstrated that better quality of milk and meat can be obtained from cattle that have been fed with transgenic crops. Feeding cattle with specific foods that have added value, more quantity of proteins, and or better quality of fatty acids and carbs has been proven to affect the final product that consumers receive, as final quality tests on meat are much better for these specific cattle. This therefore meaning that the GMOs are increasing the quality of our cattle and making the prices drive higher, making our economy more successful. It should be said that yield increases is one of the main advantages seen in nearly all GMO crops. Not only is yield increased, but also the reduction of yield is avoided because plants are made more tolerant to stresses such as herbicides, weeds, viruses, pests, insects, temperature, drought, frost, and weather. Other important advancements have been the ability to convert annual crops into perennials, this meaning they are harvested every 2 years. This change not only reduces production costs, manpower, gas, etc., but also conserves natural resources such as water and nutrients because less tillage is needed and therefore erosion is reduced. On to the next topic of current events involving GMOs. So, GMO apples, which were brought out February, March of 2017. For a select few apple lovers in the US, a golden delicious will no longer turn brown as the first genetically modified apples are expected to go on sale early next month. This therefore meaning, after you bite into an apple and let it sit for a few minutes, it will slowly start to brown. Well, thanks to these GMOs apples, that will no longer happen, and if you do not wish to enjoy the fruit at one sitting, you can go and finish it at another while the browning not being there. Also, for picky eaters, the apple should be crispier in texture, and many more will enjoy. A small amount of Arctic brand sliced and packaged Golden Delicious apples, which are produced by Okanagan Specialty Fruits in British Columbia, Canada, will hit the shelves of 10 stores in the Midwest in February and March. These apples have been out for approximately a little over a year and a half, so go to your local supermarket and see if they have them in today. New biocontainment strategy controls spread of escaped GMOs, November 26, 2018. Thankfully to an enzyme called phosphate dehydrogenase, a small number of microbes can metabolize phosphate into phosphate. While organisms require phosphorus, many cannot use phosphate due to lacking this enzyme. Therefore, they took advantage of this naturally occurring process to create a biocontainment process for E. coli. Last year, their group genetically edited a phosphate dehydrogenase gene into E. coli bacteria and removed its ability to take up phosphate. This therefore meaning that the E. coli virus would now be very hard to develop in these GMO genetic crops. Lastly, GMO bees, October 2018. Another controversial response to the slump in the bee population, as we all know that bees are a vital part of crop production in our valley. They help pollinate all plants, fruits, and other sorts of crops that we produce. Therefore, with the population going down, we aim at finding a replacement. Thankfully to GMOs, we have a response to the slump in this bee population. To do exactly that, instead of replacing pollinators, this fix involves genetically engineering more resilient strains of the honeybee that could better survive the hazard of pesticides as well as the bee viruses and parasites that humans have spread around the globe. Lab-made pesticide-resistant bees could be a real savior for our beekeepers and farmers. Also, the science is no more than 3 years away, so we can therefore, better than having robo bees, have an actual genetically modified bee. Overall, our opinion on GMOs is that they are a vital and important part of our society, as they not only increase our living, but they also increase our economy. The production of these crops are much more affectable for farmers and leave a greater lasting impact overall. Thank you.